Hello, welcome to another episode of the Indie Founder Podcast. After a short break during the holiday, which also gave me the opportunity to republish some older episodes. I guess if you are new listener, you probably haven't listened, especially the one where I narrate my day back in 2021. So it was the early days of my indie hacking experience. But I'm back this week. The episode goes out today, but from next week on, we are back on schedule every Wednesday. Today's episode, I'm trying to answer two questions. The first one is, what the hell happened to indie hacking? And the second is, what is the future of SaaS and entrepreneurship and bootstrapping with AI? It's a topic that has been giving me some anxiety with all the developments of AI, and I want to reflect a bit on it in this episode and share my thoughts and predictions with you. So that's the menu for today's episode. Before we start, though, if you like the Indie Founder podcast, you can tell me directly via DM on Twitter. My handle is WB And if you can, please give a 5-star review. It helps a lot. So if you're listening to this on Spotify, on Apple, there's always a way to leave a review. On Spotify, it's very simple. Just scroll up and you'll see the stars. And if you're listening on YouTube, put a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, please. That would be amazing. Now, without any further delay, let's start today's episode. I started indie hacking in, I believe, 2021. So it kind of started with, or it coincidentally started with the time when I quit my job to focus 100% on my projects. So back then, I just knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I had started a bunch of projects, mostly web projects before, never had any success. So I was a bit lost. And I was already developing my first app on the side. Change It was a climate change app. And I found out about this concept, indie hacking. The idea that you can hack together a project without any external investment. It was a big fuck you to all the big startups that have millions in investment, and there were a few players already in the market, namely Peter Levels, the one that everyone knows, but there were some others starting, and especially Peter Levels back then, he had already a lot of success. He was already making, if not millions, close to that with his project, and he was alone, just with a PHP script, jQuery, and him with his Twitter hacking away projects. So back then, I found this world of bootstrapping, and I thought, okay, this is it. This is what I want to do, and I started getting involved more in this community, this indie hackers community, and this community was present in two or three main ways. The biggest one being Twitter, and the other one was in this website called indiehackers.com. It still exists probably, but I'm not sure if it's still the same as it was before. So those were the focus points where most of these members of these bootstrappers were posting and sharing their developments, their ideas. That was the start of indie hacking for me. I think for me, those were the golden days. A lot has changed. A lot has changed, not only with the community itself, but as well with me. Back then, when I started, I I didn't have any success. I was not making any money from my projects. Now that I have Pod Squeeze, that I am a full-time entrepreneur, that it pays the bills, my mindset perhaps has also changed. So keep that in mind as you're listening to this episode. Maybe I am out of the indie hackers bubble. But in my perspective, a lot has changed, and in my opinion, a lot has changed to worse. I don't want to be negative, but that's just what I feel. So when I started, and I even started my own community back then. It was one of my earlier projects, the WB Space, that came from this podcast. There were a lot of people like me, a lot of people that were doing this on the side, that were excited about building SaaS technology, and these were pre AI days, right? So there was no ChatGPT. So coding was very, very different. And I also want to get into that and how coding is changing and everything is changing. And that will be more in the second part of this episode. But those days were really fun because people were sharing their learnings. Like Peter Levels, again, one of the North Stars of this community, used to really share the things that it was doing, how it was finding success, and all the other makers were doing the same. But then something started to change. Some of these makers, some of these names that come to my mind are people that I interviewed in this podcast, namely Tony Dean, Thibaut, Dagobert back then as well. A lot of these started becoming huge stars. Now you go on their Twitter and they have thousands and thousands and thousands of followers. I remember in my community, Mark Louis, which now is the founder of what is the tool? Ship it. Like all of these tools that allow you to ship code really fast. Yes, like hundreds of thousands of followers now, I think, or dozens of thousands of followers on Twitter, and he makes a lot of money. Like he became a star. Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Like I think he makes great content, and this content is highly appreciated for the community. But they now are huge. My impression is that these big stars on on indie makers, these survivals, the ones that made it, are the ones that now kind of conquered indie hacking. They are the main content creators around this, and I don't think it's their fault. I think they were really clever, but I think this was all due to the algorithm, Twitter's algorithm. You know, and I noticed this myself. Every time I shared about my MRR, I shared about the big win, I would have tremendous success in my posts. Tons of likes, a lot of comments, a lot of new followers. But in contrast, every time I would share something more in the learning side, something that I've learned, a frustration, I would see that the traction that I would have in those posts would be much, much smaller. I, especially in these early days, since I was so much into indie hacking, I did take advantage of this. So I would just find ways to write posts that would go along with the algorithm. Posts that were very positive, that would celebrate my success. But then that kind of got a hold. Like I started realizing that I was not bringing anything to the community. It's funny because the whole concept of building public, I'm not sure if this is still a term that is thrown around, but back then everyone was talking about it. Building public. The idea that you would share everything. But that turned out to be wrong. Most of these makers realized that they only needed to share one thing, which was their MRR, which is kind of a vanity metric, right? So they kind of became these stars, these people that like the example of success. So that kind of ruined the whole experience for me because especially as I was developing as an entrepreneur, I noticed that less and less I would find relevant tips and advice from this indie hacking community. Quite the opposite, really. I would look at it and find depressed. I would become depressed because I see their tremendous success. Even now, I was reading a tweet like Tony Dean just tweeted that now in 1 month it made 130,000, something like that, which is absurd. It's tremendous success, and I of course I feel happy because I met the guy, and I think he deserves it. He's very smart, and really talented developer and product builder. But part of me feels a bit disappointed, like frustrated, because like I don't see huge difference between us. So why is he making so much? Like it's not just a little bit more; it's tremendous. It's so much more money. But I don't really understand it, and I'm not sure if he's sharing it, right? So they started using Twitter, like their notoriety. They started using their success to build more products, to make more money, which is again, I would probably do the same. It's great, right? Like they were able to do it. I'm not able to do it. So they are they're really good at it, right? But in my opinion, we should as well help each other grow, and it's a pity for me. It's a pity that uh, the algorithms that these platforms do not celebrate sharing of knowledge, and rather they celebrate these short bites of vanity metrics. So in my opinion, that's what happened to indie hack. Like it died, basically. It died. Like there's just people that are tremendously successful rather, and others that maybe want to reach out, and they want to start but they don't know how. They don't know how. So yeah, I kind of now distance myself more and more from these platforms. I still use Twitter, and that's why I always say that you can DM me there. I tweet. I like the platform. I started using more LinkedIn as well. Somehow I find LinkedIn a bit better now than Twitter, because it does not promote only this vanity kind of posts. There are interesting, insightful posts there. So I think the algorithm is a bit different in that way. But yeah, I I think it changed a bit, and the whole concept of indie hacking is, yeah, is dying in a way, which is a pity because I think bootstrapping, starting things from zero, there's still a lot of knowledge that we could share that, in my perspective, is kind of disappearing. Which leads me to the next topic, which is what is the future of SaaS? Like with AI, with ChatGPT, with like software becoming a commodity, what is the future? Like is bootstrapping still a thing when everyone can just build code? Maybe, or will it enhance bootstrapping? So I want to start this little like section of this episode with our personal story. So mine and my co-founder's story. So my co-founder's João, I always thought that he had the right mindset to be a developer. Why? Because I think that being a developer is solving puzzles, solving challenges, and having the persistence and the capability of staring at a screen hours upon hours upon hours until that issue is fixed. And he had this. Like he's very smart, he's able to learn by reading, and he has the capability, the persistence that is needed for to become a developer. The only thing he was missing was knowing how to code, like was the language. And then Cursor, and I think there's another one called Windsurf, like these tools started to appear, and he started to use them, and suddenly he was able to code without actually knowing how to speak the language. Cursor became a translator from someone that has the coding mindset but doesn't know how to speak it, to actually being able to code. So especially now with GPT 4.1 and now GPT 5, these algorithms are so powerful that he can now code full fledged features, like really advanced, amazing features, and he's becoming a developer. Like he is a developer now. He is jokes around saying that he's like the lead developer. I don't think he's still there yet, but yeah, sure. He's making a lot of work that we used to pay thousands of euros to a developer, like a freelancer that we hired, that now we let go because we don't need it anymore. He can do this. Like he is another developer. And this is incredible. Now this is incredible because not only for him that now he can build and he can use this kind of product mindset to build stuff, but as well for me, I can build it much like things in much faster. Like, and it's crazy because the way I develop now, and I find if you are not coding, if you are not in these tools, it's hard to express how advanced and amazing they are because I don't write a single line of code these days, which is crazy. I just describe what I want. I read to see if it's somehow good. I understand the logic, but I don't write code, right? Which is amazing and scary at the same time. So, and what surprised me the most as well is now, and as these algorithms are developing, they are so smart. They are able to understand really complex tasks and really fast. These algorithms are able to go through like the whole coding repository and understand how things are and write the code. Like it's so absurd. And what I also realized that I'm not using AI only for coding. I'm using AI for everything. Like if I think about it, about the day, like a coding day or a working day rather for me, I sit down and I have two tabs of ChatGPT open and I have Cursor. And I go to Cursor, I ask it to do a feature. As it is doing a feature and it takes sometimes a few minutes, I open ChatGPT and I ask it to find, I don't know, potential clients for Pod Squeeze. At the same time, I have another tab of ChatGPT where I'm asking it, how can I speak more and act more as an American so that I understand the business American mindset. So I'm doing this research here. I'm doing this finding clients there. And perhaps sometimes I even have now GPT agent mode. I don't know if you played already with it, but it's incredible. Agent mode will actually open like a browser and it will use websites, it will book trips for you, all and he's super smart. Like he's able to understand how the website works, able to do research for you. It's unbelievable. So basically, this is my day now, is jumping around multiple AIs. And at a moment, I still have the control. I'm still kind of the puppeteer. But what if this keeps developing like this? So when the first, I think GPT-3 started, there was a lot of talks about AI becoming self-aware and eventually becoming much smarter than human. And to be honest, this is something that I do fear. But what I fear more, and I believe it can happen, is AI will take all the jobs that are computer focused. It might not be smarter in it will be smarter in some ways, but maybe not in all aspects. But it will take all of these computer jobs. And if it doesn't take all of them, it will heavily reduce them. So what will happen to all of us even? Like what will happen to developers? What will happen to indie makers? This really gives me a lot of anxiety into multiple perspectives. Let's target this first as a SaaS owner, right? One thing that I'm always aware is that we are always one OpenAI release close to losing our business, right? Because, and a lot of people ask me this, like, what if now OpenAI and ChatGPT starts processing audio and it just replaces Pod Squeeze, right? So how can I defend myself from that? And every time we are thinking about new projects to build, we always think, okay, but what if OpenAI starts doing this? What if ChatGPT gets smarter? For instance, one project that I wanted to work was this website builder using GPT, because now GPT-5 is great making code. So like a tool, and I had already some prototypes. You could just describe what you wanted, would code for you, and you could deploy it. And now OpenAI, ChatGPT does that in the preview mode. If you go to preview mode, you can ask it to build whatever code, game, whatever you want, and it builds it for you, and you can preview it, you can play with it. So it's very close to what I wanted to build. So that's really scary because you don't know if it's worth it to invest time and money into something that perhaps these big tools can just simply, with one release, do the same and better. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, what if software becomes a commodity? And with that I mean, what if building websites, apps, like becomes something accessible for anyone? Anyone. What if the future, and we're not that far away from that. What if the future, if you want to build an Uber kind of app or a Twitter or a Facebook, you can just describe it. You can just open one of these AIs and say, build me a website that does whatever Uber is doing. And it will just go and say, okay, we will need Stripe. You need to create an account here. I will create the account for you. And now you have an account on Google. I'll deploy the code there, then and it's done. Right? So what does this mean for SaaS makers? What does this mean for developers? Like I live the golden days of the developer world where we were paid a lot and we were like freaking rock stars. But if this happens, if software becomes a commodity, this whole industry, this whole class of workers will run out of jobs. Actually, this is already happening. Actually, these days, there's a huge problem, which is it's not worth to hire junior developers because any mid-tier developer or any person really can code. So why investing in teaching someone? Why paying the salaries of a junior developer, which were normally high, if you can contract or hire anyone that will basically use AI to build code for you? And now, so it's only worth it to hire really skilled senior developers, and now they are becoming very expensive, right? Like AI developers are making millions. They're like football players these days. So there's this huge gap of knowledge, right? So you either hire a very senior person or you hire maybe a junior or someone that knows how to use these GPT tools, this AI tool. So this whole class is disappearing. Now, what about any computer job, right? If your job is to book trips, like you are an assistant, right? Like, so you basically book trips, you do some kind of light research, that can also be replaced, right? Like we are not that far from GPT booking a full trip for you, and you are able to speak with it, right? So what if you work in procurement? If you're managing your suppliers, right? So you just buying stuff, checking your inventory, again, something that can be easily replaced. So we trained a whole generation or multiple generations to do jobs with computers, but now all these jobs might be replaced. So back to the SaaS founders, what does this mean for us? Like, what does this mean? That one big thing that we used to have that would make us, that would give us an edge when competing with Microsoft and huge companies, were that we were very agile. small startups. We can build software very fast, and we can afford to fail. But now they can also do it. Now any intern in these companies can build something using an AI tool. So how can we compete if they can just, I build a feature, they look at the feature, this feature is nice, and they just build it. Like they don't need even to buy it from us. So the only things that comes to my mind is, okay, then software will not be an impediment. So marketing is king. Being able to sell stuff, right? Like having the control over the distribution is the most important thing. So maybe back to the indie makers, Tony Dean, Peter Levels, Mark, all of them, they are doing things right because they control the distribution. So for them, it's perfect, right? Like they can build tools in a day with AI and they have the distribution. So maybe more and more, the future will be having big audiences, being able to distribute your products to a lot of people really fast. Maybe that's it. Yeah, it's stressful. It's really, really stressful. Now, one other thing that stresses me out with this AI thing is, what if it like replaces human? And I know that you'll be telling me, hey Tiago, this happened before, right? When steam engine showed up, or when electricity came along, there were a lot of jobs that were replaced, but we developed, like with internet, computers. It was just a development. But what I think is that back then we were creating tools to enhance human capability. But the main thing that humans, like, that kind of distinguishes humans from animals is our rationality, our brain, our like intelligence. But for the first time, we are replacing that. For the first time, we are building tools that replace the human brain entirely. And that's scary. I was listening to an interview with Sam Altman, right, the founder of OpenAI, and he said something really made me think. He said, no human, no kid born today, no baby born today will ever be smarter than AI. Now, smart is something that is hard to define, right? Like there's different types of intelligence. That's emotional intelligence. There's people that are really good at math. There's people that are really good in politics, organizing stuff. But he said that with such confidence. No kid born today will ever be smarter than AI. That's okay. So what will they be doing, right? Like, what is the difference? So okay, let's think about this, right? I am building code. Okay, so I'm building code and I'm telling the AI what to do, and the algorithm is developing. Suddenly, I started realizing that the AI starts correcting me. Hey, Tiago, you told me to implement this feature, but wouldn't this other feature be better? Because I just did an analysis of your users and they might be more interested in it. Like, okay, yes, do that. And then it keeps giving me suggestions. And then I started realizing, okay, I don't really need to give any more instructions. The AI is doing those instructions. So what is my role here? Like the AI just replaced me. So I think there's like this saying that everyone is saying, which was like, we what is it, like we build tools we build tools to help us do things that we love, and now AI is basically doing the opposite, right? So I built a dishwasher to clean my dishes while I'm doing something that I love, that I love, like painting. But now AI is replacing the things that I love because they're amazing at building illustrations, and I'm stuck with the dirty dishes. Like, yeah, I don't really have any answers here in this reflection. I guess one could be one takeaway from this could be focus on the distribution, focus on marketing, focus on things that AI cannot replace. One thing that AI cannot replace is everything that is kind of subjective. So art, sure, AI can replace art, but there will always be a market for things that are created by humans. I think because we want to support each other. It's like the same with chess, right? Like these days, there's no chess player alive that can beat computer. No, like even the smartest ones that cannot beat the computer. But we still love seeing humans play each other, right? So there's still that component. So I would maybe try to explore that, like finding businesses around that. For instance, podcasting, it's a good one in the sense that sure, we can already make content using AI, but we always prefer listening to other humans talk, right? So that could be one thing. The other thing is offline businesses, like building like restaurants, agriculture, things that are still kind of far away from being fully replaced by AI, right? So there are people building robots, so it's just a matter of time that robots will also like be as good as humans doing the manual tasks, and then when that happens together with AI, I don't know. But in the meantime, that might also take a while. So those kind of business are good. Now, of course, I'm saying that, and we can also be following this law of diminishing returns, which says that this development of AI will start decreasing, and we see this a little bit. I think the development gap from GPT-3 to 4 from to 4 from to 4.1 and now 4.1 to 5. I think the gap is a bit smaller. The developments have been lower. So, but at the same time, like I don't know, like the developments on image generation, video generation. Google just released this nano banana thing that it's basically replacing Photoshop. Still, I don't know. I still don't see it. I still find it really like developing really, really fast. So yeah, it's hard to imagine. It's scary. It's really scary. Even like if you're a father right now, if you're a mother, like what do you recommend your kids to do? To study? Yeah, it's gives me a bit of anxiety. So my only conclusion here is to diversify. Right? Like as any good investor, you cannot put your eggs all in one basket. Like as an entrepreneur, you cannot only focus on one SaaS product because you never know. If that dies, you might not have any alternative. So one thing that I'll be doing is, and I think that's a good thing about being a bootstrapper, is that you build multiple stuff, multiple businesses, and that's also kind of my goal is to become a better entrepreneur. So I'm building SaaS, but at the moment we also have another project that basically sells advertising for podcasts, which is quite a different business. And I want to invest in like housing. Like houses seem still like a very safe bet. Humans will still need to live somewhere, and ETFs and all the other investments and other businesses. Like try to diversify your businesses. Try to do stuff that is not only fully AI or SaaS dependent. I think that's probably the safest path going forward, right? Because we the future, especially in software, it's very uncertain. It's very blurred. Like we don't know. We don't really know. I do think that the development will start stagnating a bit. And if that happens, that's also great because now we have great tools to build software, but not great enough that will replace us. You still need to know there's still a need for great developers, for great engineers, for great product builders, right? Like humans are still the center, the really good ones on that. So it will probably stay that way for a couple of years. If in 10 years that changes, it's I think we need to prepare. I think that's the conclusion. So I have nothing else to say. I hope you enjoyed this reflection. I would love to hear your opinion on this. To be honest, I would love to. Is AI something that gives you anxiety as an entrepreneur, as a human, as a person? Do you think about that a lot? Do you think AI will keep developing at this rate, or will eventually decrease and stagnate? How do you plan for this development? I would love to hear your thoughts. So please shoot me a message at Tiago on Twitter and on LinkedIn as well. I'll also share the links will also be in the show notes of this episode. Once again, if you do enjoy this type of content, if you want more content like this, give me a review. So Spotify, Apple, just click 5 stars. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, put a like and subscribe to the channel. This was another episode of the Indie Founder Podcast. We'll be back next Wednesday. Until then, keep shipping it. Cheers.